I'm gonna just hydrate super quick here. And then I gotta get some music going, and then I think we're ready to rock. Appreciate you guys joining in. If you are joining and this is the moment that you happen to join in on, I assure you that you're missing nothing if you skip ahead nearly 2 minutes, because I still have to get my music going, and then I have to link this on my Patreon. Let's get Stream Beats there. I have to connect to Bluetooth, not AirPods. Okay. Create. I'm confident this is the right one. We are going to add a video. I really need to figure out a way that it would just publish this automatically. That would be cool. Sweet, there we go. Log me into Stream Beats. Pronto. Type a password super fast. Remember me, log in. Okay. Maybe. Let's put lo-fi on as per usual. Bluetooth. Saltillo. Play music. There we go. All right. I think we're gone. Seems like we're probably gone. Looks like it's just me watching. Get a little bit of delay. I just got done at jiu-jitsu. Had a really good class on staying in mount or defending from mount, which was cool. I feel like I did okay, oddly. Where are we at right now? How far into this live are we? What's up, London? I'm gonna just give a quick little shout about where, if you're not joining live, we wasted about 2 minutes just chatting randomly. But yeah, how's it going, London? What's up? I am really glad that we had our chat today. I'm gonna bump up the font size just ever so slightly so I can read you while I am standing here. I mixed a color that I think I really like, but I think I need more orange and perhaps a smidge more red. But yeah, I'm hoping that everything is making sense after you might have had a minute to reflect on what the Flex and Paint stuff was. I'm really gonna spend more time thinking about and then compiling better explanation on the body awareness around body scans. I think that it's great that you highlighted some of the potential gaps there, and I would love to provide more exposition into what that actually is going to look like, because it is important. I don't know how to emphasize enough that most of what I know around, is this green enough? What I know around how to succeed in fitness, it really comes down to body awareness, and like to be in the gym and to like have a state where you're in the gym and you're able to just completely immerse yourself in this like meditative state where you're completely unthinking outside of the only thoughts that you have are sensory, is the goal that we're going for. So I'm sideways. Oh, I'm sideways. That's so funny. Sorry about that. Okay, let me fix that. I'm sure I can fix that. That's good call, good call. Okay, let's do that. You're so right, that cracks me up. Okay, so funny. Made sense for sure. It's just putting it into practice and then it'll really click, at least for me. Absolutely, and that is one of those things, I'm glad that you're saying that, because it is 100% down to the fact that you need to do repetitions for it, and it's not gonna be instantaneous. And exactly that, where all of these practices do take, the right green? Not totally confident. That looks like cobalt blue, shoot. That looks like cobalt blue. I need ultra. Yeah, they're 100% practices that take a substantial amount of time to develop. Like, and that's why it's so tricky when you are in this state, and why I gave the explanation that I've lived periods of my life where I felt like I had this, like I remember being in college and thinking like, I'm studying. I felt like I had these thoughts where I was like, yeah, you know, I feel pretty bad. I am just like not really connecting with my body. I felt kind of like this was just a fixed aspect of my personality. And I felt like there were things that I could not control, I could not change, and I didn't really respect the power of how you can, in fact, rewire your brain. And I didn't even know what the goal was of like rewire your brain so that you are more of a gorilla. You're more of a, like, and I say that tongue in cheek, but like an ape isn't thinking about the future all the time. We have strategic applications of like, I need to get food and I need to plan. But we now have like, I need to get food and I need to find a mate and I need to have housing and I need to also worry about my job and I need to worry about what this person thinks of me at my job. And it's like this extension that we've made that is good, but it's overactive and overutilized. So, I like this. Is a new format you're going for. Oh yeah, I know, right? Just like sideways streams. It's good to like change it up though, you know, like have a weird random perspective once in a while. So maybe. And yeah, so I'm kind of trying to figure out exactly where my eucalyptus is for all of this. I have been branching out on this painting in particular, and it's really fun stuff. I am keen on seeing where this one goes. But yeah, exactly to that point, and to articulate this even further, I think it's important. The fact that we consider ourselves malleable in a lot of ways, but there are certain aspects of our lives that we're just like, oh, I'm not flexible, or I'm not able to change in this regard. Or at least that's what I had as a thought for a substantial amount of my time. And the more and more that I get out of it, or the more that I continue to push on through certain aspects of my life, I realize that there are so many things that we can in fact change. And I want to share that because, and like, it's great that you're taking a step and joining this program, because I think that recognizing that we all have capacities to improve, and like, I believe in, it's kind of been a funny thing as I've been looking at getting coaching and mentorship specifically around content and all these other things, is because it is one of these things that I know that you have to, at a certain point, like, recognize you don't know what you don't know. And so putting yourself in this state where you're okay getting help, and like, not to position it as like, yeah, this is gonna like change your life necessarily, and like everybody needs help in this regard, but there are just shortcuts, you know? And I think in terms of lifting especially, I have found time and time again that I got fairly lucky with a lot of my lifting because people turned me on to the right stuff fairly quickly. And there were so many elements where I was like, I just don't, I didn't like do the whole like, oh, I'm eating a bunch and now I'm trying to do cardio about it and like figure out all these other strategies that are just ineffective for gaining muscle mass and getting in good shape. I was able to have the right guidance and the right frameworks fairly quickly, and I feel really lucky about that. But I recognize that a lot of people are, in a lot of ways, confused about what that even looks like. And so it is one of those things where I think recognizing that and like working towards that is, you know, it's all that we can do in a lot of ways. So this painting has been like really strange for me because I've hit a point already where I'm kind of like over it. Like I feel like I've done what I wanted to do with it, but it is not yet where I want it to be. And I'm still not really like in the groove where I'm like, yeah, I'm just like getting a flow out of this, which I think will come as soon as I have like a little bit of a more established pattern with this foreground. So I'm trying to just jump right into it and say, if there's something that's not super fun, like just skip into the fun part, at least for a little while. Or do the thing that is, in a lot of ways, a little bit easier. So I think that's pretty much all that I needed over here. Maybe one right here. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, okay. I'll take that. Cool. Nothing like random perspective. Absolutely. May not change, but possibly enlightened you to something that you hadn't thought of or read about before. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Zach. May not change, but possibly enlighten you to something you hadn't thought of before. Love a good art flow. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, trying to get in the art flow for sure. So we've got this one. Let's start with this mid-tone. I've got a lot of different greens going on here. I'm trying to definitely incorporate more technique that I've learned. And I've learned lately that shadows are warm often, and things that are in the light are often cool. And that really was interesting to me. I hadn't really thought about that, or even known that that was the case. And so here we go, we're trying it. Trying to use cool paints for my shadows. We've got this dark bit, which actually should have been up here. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. We're gonna pretend. Absolutely just get this on here. It's kind of one of those things where in painting, so often I strike a chord where I go, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't really know that I like how this is turning out. But again, trusting the process with painting is really important. So like just saying, you know, it's okay. I'm gonna just keep going at it, and I will trust that eventually it does in fact work out. Okay, I didn't actually shoot myself in the foot that bad. This one, got a couple of these that are right here. Let's get good textures. It was cool teaching this painting class too, because it's so funny. Every time that I do teach a painting class, I'm like I'm made slightly more aware of like all of the little technical skills that I've built over time regarding how to like handle a knife. And like watching someone mix paint, it's funny because I can like tell that they've got like awkward Bambi legs about it. And like no shade, it's just a skill that I take for granted at this point, that like to go back and forth and to seamlessly mix paint, I have found a way to save myself a substantial amount of time and like get in the flow with it, which is really fun. Find that interesting. You would think it'd be the other way around, shadows being cool and lights being warm. I know, right? Isn't that strange? Like I read that in this book. I think it's because like, I think and generally that is in regards with daylight. But I'm not actually confident that it is exclusive. Because yeah, it's like the sun, the light from the sun is warm, or we'd like to think of it as warm, but I don't really know. I don't recall her exact explanation around why that was the case. Ooh, I like that. That's in a good spot right there. Get another kind of similar one of those here. It's really cool, like spade shape. I will say that I kind of messed up my, I think my values on this are already a little bit off. And I think I need more Hansa yellow. I was using Hansa yellow for this green plus cobalt blue. And I think I added slightly too much. Yeah, like I was using a cool Hansa yellow. Where is my Hansa yellow? There you are. Yeah, I was putting in too much cadmium, which is a warm color. Yeah. Yeah, I have like, it's weird when you hit a certain point in a painting where you can kind of see where it's going to go. Like I'm envisioning this being just like this giant mass of green and like not that much green over here, but enough to build continuity. But most of the time that kind of thing is actually an accident. Like I was explaining in this painting class as well, this concept of how I think that I have improved substantially as an artist, less from trying to analyze and understand. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah, slightly, maybe a little whiter. Less from trying to understand in the moment and being like, okay, how do I fix this painting now? Then when I finish a painting and I can analyze, like I was looking at the paintings that I have up already, and I was explaining the 70-30 rule, which is like a very simple heuristic around how 70% of the things in your painting could be the same, but 30% of them could be different, and that creates meaningful contrast. And this could be contrast in a variety of things. It could be contrast in your literal values of contrast, like super light, super dark, which I've done poorly in this painting, in my opinion. But there's also this idea of contrast in rendering. So having a substantial amount of detail in one spot and a lack of detail in another, or the other way around, having a lack of detail in the majority of the painting and then a substantial amount of detail in another, is a really cool and easy application of the 70-30 rule. So yeah, I kind of found that interesting. And I'm definitely trying to, but to my point of what I was saying just a moment ago, put a little dab right there. The concept there being that when you are working on a painting, I think you shouldn't focus too heavily on those things that you've learned, but when you finish it, you can then analyze it and say, okay, I did that well, or I didn't do that well. And then you can kind of try to just like usher your painting in that direction for next time. But the act of improving is not so much in a painting, it's between two distinct finished paintings. And that's why I think volume is super important in art, is because you are continuing to improve over time, and it's really, you'll drive yourself crazy. I found this to be the case as well in making more content online. If you just like hammer away and you try to make your video perfect, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. I think you have to just like say, I'm gonna get it out there, get the rep done. Same thing with fitness, like to just say, you know, I tried to get a really good rep, a really good workout, whatever, great. And if you feel like you can improve on it next time, awesome. But it's not worth it to like hammer and hammer and hammer away at like one technique or one skill or one thing like that. So I don't know if that makes sense, but hope so. Ooh, I'm gonna finish this actually. Yes. Cool. So I'd love to get all the stuff in the lights done first, because I'm gonna try that sort of 70-30 rule, figure out at what level do I have granularity that I like, a certain amount of paint mass and a certain amount of like stuff going on in the flow that is sort of in the background. And then once I have that, then that will inform all of the mass that I'm gonna do here, which I think should be a little bit more of a focal point. Kind of hard to say. Again, so much of this is like I don't want to call it extra, but it's stuff that I think is worth thinking about. I've got one more big one over here. Let's just make this up. I spaced this out a little too wide. My drawing and rendering is, or my drawing is just poor. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. That's okay. A little bit of cadmium orange, a little bit of ultramarine blue. Need more ultramarine. Well, yeah, more ultra. Definitely more ultra. So yeah. What do you notice about people who are unsure about how to mix paint? Like, why do you think they have Bambi legs about it? I think it literally comes down to, again, repetitions and coordination. And that is the thing that I think is most, again, transferable between weightlifting and painting, and why, like, another lesson that I probably should talk about. When you are beginning to lift weights, for instance, like, it's gonna feel weird when you bench press. Like, my friend, she and I have gone to the gym before, and I'll watch her bench, and her ability to bench, I don't know if I'm gonna convey this right. When she is benching, she holds the weights like out. So her resistance doesn't track over her elbows. And sometimes she like holds the weight like up too. Like, her elbows are just either too extended or they are internally or externally rotated in a strange way. And that is a thing that just, again, comes with time. It's a coordination thing. And that's why when you get gains on any given lift, the first gains that you have generally are due to building out coordination. They're not due to like actually getting any stronger. So it's kind of this funny thing of like, same thing with mixing paint, where I watched and he kind of was like using the tip of the knife to mix paint. Like, if you're mixing paint, I don't know if this is gonna work accurately, probably okay, maybe. He would like dig in and mix with the tip, where I really used the whole edge. And to understand the actual angle of attack while you're mixing the edge on the glass palette, as opposed to like mixing as if it's a fork, understanding that takes time. And so it's one of those things where it's not immediately obvious. Like, when I'm sure you may have seen when I post videos of me mixing paint, I'm really like pushing it along as if I'm using like one of those, what's the word? Like an excavator thing, where it's like digging out rather than like poking at it. And it's just a thing that I think I've built, the fact that, much like I'm terrible at racket sports, for instance, I don't understand how to use the tool as an extension of my arm quite in the way that those who have grown up and who have done it, they can see the ball coming, they can perceive it, they can use the extension of the tool as an extension of their body. Same thing with paint, same thing with mixing paint. It's not an innate or like immediately obvious skill. So, oh, this is a really cool spot. Okay, how do I do this? I think I need 2 more dabs here. Oh, I gotta get this mid-tone. Let's see. Slightly darker, slightly Hansa yellow. Yeah, so it's interesting watching, because I could quickly tell that he was improving. When we had the painting seminar, it was kind of funny because I think I, in some ways, discouraged him right from the jump, because I asked him a lot of very esoteric questions about his art. And I didn't mean this with the intention to discourage him, but the very first thing I asked him, I was like, let's just put color on the palette. And this is kind of how I like to teach beginners how to paint. Put color on the palette. Do you like that color? Simple yes or no question. Okay, you're gonna pick up the paint with a brush, and you're gonna understand the amount of mass that you apply with oil, because paint mass is very important to understand, especially as you're mixing on a palette and mixing on the canvas. So once you have done that, and once you have built repetitions of understanding how to use the tool as an extension of your body, then you can learn techniques. But first you have to understand how to even use the tool. Like if you were gonna learn tennis, it would not be fun to like learn all the rules right from the jump. You go to the court and you just smack the ball around and see if you can even hit the ball with the racket. Same thing with painting. So after he had the paint on there, I said, okay, pull another color. Just think of another color that works with the color you chose. And he pulled a green. He was like, yeah, green. I was like, sure. So he chose a green and I asked him after he put it on the palette, does it match? Do you like it? And he was like, that's a trick question. I was like, no, actually it's not a trick question. Because you will have a response. My response is gonna be different. I'm not gonna tell you objectively with color theory, that color matches, that color doesn't match. I'm gonna ask you, is it pleasing to you? If you were to have this green and put it up against this yellow, like his color selection, do you like it? Like it's a pretty, it feels like a trick question, but it is in fact a yes or no answer. And once he kind of got that and he was like, I don't actually think I like it. And then it's like, okay, how do you change it? And that's the next step. And that's also very open-ended. Maybe it needs to be more gray. Maybe it needs to be more red. Maybe it needs to be like a slightly bluer green. There's a lot of different answers. So none of them are right. You're not gonna even like get it right the first time. When you finally do change it and you go, yeah, you know, I actually don't like what I did. I don't like my change. That's okay. Like and then at that point we say, okay, let's just get a new canvas. Let's just start something else, like start fresh if we want to. But then once we started understanding how to use the brush, how to choose colors, how to actually open up and like rather than just work on like a small little thing of the canvas, because that was another thing that he did that I didn't even realize was a lesson. We had this big canvas that we were working on. He was painting like here and the whole canvas was like here. He just kept in this box. And so today I made this video about posture because painting and posture are terribly important. When you are painting and you constrict your field of view, you constrict your options and what you may interact with, inherently your posture is inward. So I was like, okay, the thing to do is to be completely unabashed about getting the paint everywhere. Like open up your chest, move that thing around, like truly. Because otherwise you're gonna continue to focus on details. You're gonna paint details first, which in my opinion in painting is not the best way forward. After we had done that, we started a new painting, a smaller painting, and he got it right away. He was like, okay, I'm painting the edges, I'm painting all this stuff, I'm painting crude define, and I could tell that his manual manipulation of the material had substantially improved. So, yeah, you like mold or fold the paint, absolutely. And you do have to like understand how paint masses work and how you can interact with the paint masses. I hope all that makes sense. It's definitely very like esoteric of a sort. Okay, this part is actually pretty important. This is a very strange, small little detail that, in my opinion, is gonna come out very important because of the resulting contrast that I'm hoping to achieve here. Okay, I got one of them done. And then let's get this one. And then let's get a very, very light paint. And then we have a small little fold here. Nice, good. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's actually immediately a focal point. That's crazy. Now I just have to not ruin that. So let's see, how do I put something behind it? I can't, I did that wrong. Oops. Let's put something behind it, that's okay. Whoa, too much paint, too much paint. Yeah, that kind of turned out, that's all right. And then we're gonna use another dark here, maybe not quite the darkest dark, some sort of near mid-range value, pretty dark. And then we've got this big giant blob. It's actually a circle. Sure, why not? That looks pretty circular to me. And then we've got some fades, which I'm not gonna do because I don't want that. I don't ever blend on the canvas. So we're just gonna use a mid-tone. That is, what shape are you? You're like two rectangles. dark. I'm taking up too much space, actually. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sure. Okay, and now we have this giant cluster, which actually I think I didn't space these out quite enough. Now that I'm looking at this, I did the opposite of my current analysis, and that's what happens when you lose the forest for the trees. Let's put this midtone in here. It can be imaginary. I don't really care. How do we feel about that? We've got this pillar, which, oh no, okay. Got a lot of greens in here that are fairly light. That's too much white. Yeah, so I don't know. Those are my painting lessons for the night, essentially. Working with tattoos. Sorry, I'm gonna rip one of these. And when I'm drawing on my tablet, I'm definitely in shrimp posture. That's one reason I do enjoy painting on a canvas. I can unshrimp. Absolutely. And it's like, it's weird because I have moments too where like I was doing some drawing on the floor and it's like, yeah, you get in this like, it's literally one of these things that, it has to do with like not only your posture. How do I say this? Because I'm gonna sound like not a conspiracy theorist, but like a pseudoscientist. Your posture also impacts your eyes. And I don't think that's controversial to say, but like when you're like doing everything and you are like, if I'm like down here and I'm doing like models and I'm like really in my zone, not only am I focusing on things closer, but I'm also in this state of like my whole body has some amount of contraction, including the muscles of your eyes. And so it's one of those things that like, it's fine to be in that posture because that's actually really healthy for you to be like, I'm gonna curl up into a ball as tightly as I can. I'm gonna focus on the, like literally the closest thing. I can't even like focus my eyes on something this close. Good for you, it's good to do that. It's also just as good to do the thing that says, I'm gonna be as expanded as possible. I'm gonna look out into the distance as much as possible. And alternating between those states, I think is really healthy as well. So long as you do find that you have ample time to do so, I think is really important. I don't know, I sound like maybe a crazy person. Me and my friend Jared, we talk about this a lot because both of us have pretty good vision, and I understand that a lot of that is in fact genetic, and it is in fact impacted. It's genetic, but it's also impacted by your lifestyle choices. Like both of my parents have bad vision. My dad, he grew up in a basement working on RC cars and like models and stuff, and it impacted his vision, and he has poor vision to this day. My mom, her vision isn't terrible, but it's not great. Same thing, because she's doing like pottery, and it's like a very like, you do get a lot of internal rotation. You are working on a thing like this in pottery. Kind of one of those things that I think that so long as you adequately balance it out, like I've worked at a desk and a computers for over a decade. I was a computer child. I was out on my computer. And I think that so long as you are able to be like, I'm doing weightlifting, or I'm doing stretching, or I'm doing something that enables me to be in this opposite antagonist state, that is how you be healthy. And that's how you be healthy with your muscles. I think it extends into your vision. A little bit conspiracy theorist, but painting traditionally more is one of my goals for the 8 weeks. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's gonna be great because having digital painting is really fun, and doing anything in that state is really fun. But I think that there's so much to be like, how do I say this as well? The value out of traditional mediums and old mediums offers texture and visual stimulus that is inherently good for you. I talked about that cat experiment on one of my videos where like they raise cats in like vertical stripe environments and horizontal stripe environments. Point being that your environment and what you choose to literally ingest with your eyes, you are what you eat. When I stare at my palette, it's like looking out into like a landscape or something where I have a rich variety of sensations to pick up on. And you don't get that digitally. You just don't. Like there's not texture. I'm able to see like reflections off of the paint. I'm able to see the shadows cast by the peaks of the paint on my palette. I'm able to see the opacity of my paint. There's inherent visual stimulus that is good for you. And it's one of those things that I think prioritizing that and prioritizing stimulus that is tangible and that is applicable to like, not applicable, but like ensuring that you're using stimulus that is of the real world is equally important. So that's my conspiracy rant for the evening. Did I do this right? This one. I feel like I rotated this. I did rotate it. Okay, I was like driving myself insane. No, I just painted it wrong. Okay, that's all right. We got a nice big fan over here. I gotta paint this background. I can't do this yet, actually. This background is gonna drive me insane. Needs to be this color. Later. This one's done. This one's near done. We've got a lot of stuff going on in here. This, I don't think I care that I just painted that this morning. One, two. This, I think I need to actually trim this in more. I do, in fact, need to trim this in more. Yeah, okay, I gotta mix this. I don't know how much I care about that. I think I don't know, what do you guys think? Is this blue shadow too massive? I feel like there's too much going on here. I think I'm gonna actually trim it down and bring in some of these yellows so that the yellows kind of stop here and here. Maybe pull that so that there's a little fakey shadow, something like that. But I think that might be it for now. I'm gonna let that digest because that's how I paint. So I agree with that. My eyes get really tired working close on clients. Usually by the third client, my vision gets fuzzy, especially with glasses. Yeah, it's tough. And it is one of those things that's hard when you are in a profession where you have to do that. I respect tattooing because it is like such a, like you do need to perceive those under those things. And I'm sure there are nuances about tattooing that I don't understand. It was really cool watching. I kind of hated it, but like you have to understand the depth and that requires some amount of tactile feedback as well as visual feedback, I'm sure. So that is really cool that you get to do that. Absolutely. I would love to get into it, but yeah. Thanks so much for joining, guys. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna hop off. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to mention, but feel free to reach out if you guys have any other thoughts. I'd love to talk about this kind of thing more. All really fun stuff. So thanks for joining. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.